Hey guys, welcome to our podcast. My name is
Where it
Elvis.
has to be said.
Yeah, where it has to be said. Thanks.
And I'm Denise.
Yeah. This is second take. This is second take for this one.
Yes, because as I shared in Instagram, you know, I may have played around a little bit with the mixer.
It's crazy because every time we mess up on the audio or something like that, it's because you were playing around with the
Not
settings.
not every time.
Uh,
Not every time.
99% of the
Not
time.
every
Yeah.
time. Anyways, we're
Babe,
finally here.
let's talk.
Finally. It only took him about a month.
So we blaming me already immediately? Okay.
So the technical difficulties, we'll put it on me.
Mm-hmm.
And the lack in recordings, we'll put it on Elvis.
Okay. No,
Deal.
I'll accept that. That's
Thank
okay.
you. So
I don't necessarily agree, but go ahead.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes, yes. First recording of
24.
2024.
We're
Yeah,
excited.
absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Are you so cheesy?
Nothing. Here we are. Anyways, so today we're gonna talk about parenting. Usually every new year, most people have like New Year's goals, resolutions, vision boards,
Lose weight, go to the gym.
yeah, personal goals, family goals, life goals, goals, right? That's the point. But I think that we actually this month had a little like parenting like moment, right? Where we had to like have a family meeting or whatever. So I'm like, "Oh, let's talk about that," right? I think that something we can agree on is that we strive to be better parents.
Absolutely.
Um, you know, every day that we can do better.
It's not
We
easy.
try.
It's not easy.
It's not.
And it's, it's crazy part is that one thing that you can't just like, okay, I don't want to be a father anymore. I don't want to be a mother. That's it. I'm going to stop parenting. Forget about it,
Yeah, no. We can't do it. I mean, you can, but then
You shouldn't.
you'll fall in the neglectful
You
parenting
shouldn't.
style, right? So we're gonna talk about parenting. There is four types of parenting styles. So I am gonna briefly say them. And research basically suggests that knowing these styles are important because it can have an impact on a child's growth, right? Whether emotional, physical, developmental, and behaviorally, right? So how we parent, how we interact with our children matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first interaction and relationship a child comes to know
Absolutely.
their parent. And in the next week's episode, we're gonna see me and our guest talk about the lack of having a father in our lives. So it'll show a little bit of the impact in that episode. But it's clear whatever interaction we have has some form of effect in our lives. It shapes us,
Absolutely.
right? I think that after a while, after a certain age though, it becomes where it's like, all right, you got to make a decision. Are you going to continue carrying with what mom and dad did or didn't do, and or you're going to make a change for yourself, right? You got to change the narrative of your story at some point. But I think this is information that's important to know, right? So there's four types of parenting styles. And we all have different kids, so it might work a little differently, right? So there's the neglectful, right, which is an absent parent or someone not willing to do very close to anything, or someone that's indifferent to their kid. Is more like the you're on your own mentality, right? We're not going to really focus on that today. Then there's like the permissive parent. This is like, there's inconsistent rules and expectations. And you kind of have that like let's be friends mentality. And what happens is that sometimes your children end up being more impulsive and aggressive and have very low expectations. Because there was never really like limits and
Mm-hmm.
structure. Then there is the authoritarian, and that's more of like you have very strict rules with no explanation. Like it's because I said so. Sometimes you try to control your kids' behavior through maybe harsh criticism, a sarcasm, and this often creates like your kid to maybe rebel, has struggles with making decisions for themselves, and even have low self esteem. And then there is authoritative. And this is a parent who provides like a nurturing atmosphere. Like they have rules, right? You have rules, you set boundaries, but you allow your kid to make decisions within that space of boundaries and limits that you set. And it's more of like, let's talk about it kind
Mhm.
of mentality. And this helps create like a mutual respect in the relationship and helps the child learn to judge situations for themselves, set up, be successful at making decisions as they grow older. Now, of the three, because we're not even going to count neglectful, where do you think you find yourself at?
Well, now I know. Now I know. Actually, you didn't even say that. Well, basically, what we did is we took this questionnaire, and then we asked our daughter, our oldest, to kind of answer herself, and
To
then
edit, yeah.
to edit it. And she had a lot of correction on hers. I probably had like two correction on mine. I was very honest. I think I scored myself below what I should have because she kept on saying, "Daddy was so honest. It's so honest," and that paper has a lot of corrections, man. So nothing.
um,
Based on the score that we
y'all know
got,
who's the favorite for Ellie.
excuse me, I'll let you speak. So based on the scoring that we got for hers, yeah, we have here the scoring.
Yeah, so what's your top parenting style of the three? Which is the top one?
Where does that say? And authoritative parent style.
Authoritative.
I got a 3.8 on that one. That's the highest
Nice.
one.
Nice. I got a 4.8.
On that one?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, look at you. And then your second one?
It's the obviously authoritarian. I got like a 2.23.
Yeah, I got a 2.6.
This is out of 5. And then
Okay.
permissive, I got a 2.
Yeah, so I also got, it's crazy. I got a 2 too. It's like we're not trying to be cool, you know. Like I
Yeah.
love you, but it's crazy because I see those type of relationships and not to criticize, but I'm like I'm not gonna do that because I mean then they start stepping over you like crazy. It's like
Yeah.
I remember there was one time. Should I throw her under the bus or I shouldn't? No, I'm not gonna throw her under the bus. No, forget it. Forget it. I'm not gonna say anything. Nothing. She
Oh, like
saw.
an example?
Yeah, example. Her and her friends. I'm not gonna say exactly what happened, but her and her friends. This happened last year. Um, they all asked me as a group. There was like 12 of them, and they were like, "Hey, listen, could you lie to the other parent and tell them
Oh
that they're gonna be
yeah.
with you?" I said, "Like, no, I'm not gonna lie to the other parent. If I say I'm gonna be with you guys, then I hold responsibility." But they felt so cool with me that
Yeah.
they thought I said, "No, no, I'm a
Yeah.
parent myself. I'm not gonna do that." So it's like if you don't draw that line of what friendship is and you know what's your role as a father or a mother, they're gonna think we're so cool that we can even lie together. We could do our own things together. No, I'm like no.
Yeah, I see that a lot at work. Like I see parents that try and I can see why you try to be permissive. Um because you kind of want to keep a open relationship where the kid is able to come to you for anything.
Hmm.
Um but then the danger lies is that okay, I don't want you coming to me for it. I don't want you being honest about all this craziness that you're doing, these bizarre behaviors like at a, like at this at a certain age. So I think that it's you got to find a balance in how much you're allowing
Hmm.
to do for your child to do that is in an appropriate time and setting, right? And I think that is very hard for this generation because they're like 2 years advanced.
Hmm.
Like my theory is like what these 13 and 14-year-olds are doing, people around me or even myself were doing at maybe 15, 16, and even 17. Right now, these kids are I have done it all. Like it's rare when you meet a child that hasn't either smoked some type of substance, has seen some type of substance, has had sex,
Hmm.
has saw pornography. Like it's just so many things that they're so exposed to now and it's just normalized. Um, and if you don't have a grip as a parent, you're gonna lose your kid.
Yeah, yeah. There gotta be number one. There has to be some type of boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and number two, I'm a firm believer of learning from home. if you don't teach your kids, right, and I feel like that's our responsibility as parents. We teach our kids so much of don't do this, don't do that. But we should explain a little bit more what are the consequences if you have that, right? If you drink and you drive, this is what happens. If you
Mhm.
smoke, um, if you have friends that have drugs and you guys get pulled over, who's going to take responsibility if you guys all get pulled over?
Yeah.
If you take these drugs or these drugs, what are the consequences, right? If you take a drink from a stranger and all of a sudden you feel dizzy, what's going to happen to you, right? If you don't teach them that and leave that seed in their mind, when the day comes and it's introduced to them, right? It could be
Mhm.
drugs, it could be exposure to something, whatever it is. They're gonna be like, this is just an extra thing to do. Versus, wait, I remember mommy or papi, they said don't do this because of this,
Yeah.
right? So if we don't teach them, we can't expect them to figure it out on themselves, right? And then if they do something and we never really educated them on that side of things, you can't be mad at them
Yeah.
necessarily, right? Because they're just going based on what their friends do. Half of these kids, they go based on everything that what their friends do. My friend is doing it. Oh yeah, that's normal. Oh, we could do it. Doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
our job is to really teach them what's wrong and what's right, and what are the consequences if you do choose to do the wrong thing.
And that's the difference between authoritative and authoritarian style, right? Because the authoritarian is like, don't do drugs, don't have sex, don't do this. It's a lot of don't, right?
Yes.
And the first thing you're gonna want to do is do, or inquire about it, right? Versus when you're taking that authoritative side where it's like, listen, this is all accessible to you, but this is what can happen.
Yeah.
And it's like the Bible says that everything is available to me, but not everything is beneficial to me.
Absolutely.
And that's the part that we have to like teach our kids, because honestly, after a certain age developmentally, peer influence is the highest. So starting around like age 11 or 12, I think that's when you're more influenced by your peers than even at home like home factors.
Mm-hmm.
um so adolescence is a very tough time because you're is a constant battle between what you're trying to teach and instruct and guide, plus what they're also learning and
No,
seeing and experiencing
and,
outside.
and I feel like ultimately we should be realistic, right? Because they're gonna decide either to do right or do wrong. Like it's not that you failed as a parent. It's not that your kids are dumb, right? We can't think that way. We all make mistakes. Even as adults, we still continue to
Mm-hmm.
make mistakes. So I feel like the grace that we want upon ourselves, we should always give to our kids as
Yeah.
well, right? Because that's also a perfect example of grace, of teaching your kids. Listen, we make mistakes as adults also. So more or less, you're gonna make mistakes being a youth as well. So it's like we kind of have to teach everything, right? It's almost like we're like everyday basis. We're teaching them
Mm-hmm.
something new. And going back to a point that you said that, oh, we want them always to come to us. As much as you're buddy with your kids, they're not always gonna go to you for everything. They're not. You
Mm-hmm.
could be strict. You could be whatever it is. They're just not gonna go to you for everything, and that's all right.
Yeah.
You're right. You did not fail as a parent because they don't go for you for everything. Now, if you didn't knock on that door as a parent and be like, hey, listen, how's your day? Has anything changed? How you feeling? How's your mood? What's going on in school? How's going on with your friends? Learn your kids' friends' names.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, what's going on with this person? Hey, I haven't heard this name lately. What, right? We always try to know
I
the
know it's
names.
hard because they
And
change like every two
no, that's
weeks.
another point. Oh, wait, this name I haven't heard it. Who's this person that you're
Yeah.
talking about, right? If we don't do that part, and again, it's a lot of responsibilities, but welcome to being a father or mother, right? Um, they're not gonna give us this information, so it's really our job to try to get as much information and be ready for them to kind of be hesitant if you never do that,
Yeah.
right? If you don't have this normal conversation with them, right? Because we do it randomly. We'll go to her room and be like, "Yo, what's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, hey, you in love? Who's this? Who's that? Right? We just go very random and very like we truly want to know and we want to be present, right? Because if they're going through something, because they also have their day by
Yeah.
day of, if they're going through something, we want to make sure that we're there to kind of be their backbone on things. That's it.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, when Ellie was smaller and she was entering like elementary and all that. a friend of mine at the time, she's still a friend. She had advised me to, like, when she is talking about her day and stuff, that all that like dumb drama and just
Mm-hmm.
yapping, just listen,
Absolutely.
be invested.
Yep.
Because a lot comes out of that, and it also goes to show that you're interested
Mm-hmm.
versus like, oh, I don't have time for this, or I don't want to hear about it, or not care for about it. Then they're not gonna go to you
Mm-hmm.
for everything. And it's not to say that it's always like that, right? Because I think we have times where it's like we gotta pull teeth sometimes, or I gotta be Inspector Gadget to get things out of Ellie. But I think that as time has passed, we've gotten better
Mm-hmm.
in communicating with her and kind of learning with her. Like, especially when you have your first kid, you're learning everything
No.
with
Yeah.
that one kid, right? So for us, and we've spoken it about before in other episodes, not only were we trying to navigate the parenting thing, but we were also trying to navigate the marriage thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which being married and then coming into having a kid immediately is a lot, and it pulls a strain in your relationship. But we can talk about that another time. Um, Plus, at the age we were still trying to figure out who we were. Like developmentally, we still mentally were not fully developed yet, and at that age. So it's all those factors, and we have to like kind of give ourselves grace because they don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they don't have that perspective to understand and say, "Oh, my mom was growing too, my dad was growing too." Um, so understanding that we're playing with so many different pieces while trying to understand and learn parenting. And there's great resources, there's great books, and there's great assessments, and there's great information, which is good to read and get educated, but nothing beats the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when you learn more, right? When it's trial and error. When you're having those conversations and you realize, oh, what I said kind of made her feel bad, or um I I asked the wrong question and she closed out, right? Because you observe those things as you're conversing. So it's really lived experience. Like
Mm-hmm.
you learning as you go.
Yeah, and I feel like the resources are there, the tools are there, the books, everything. But again, that's just a tool,
Mhm.
right? What you do with it is what matters the most. So I feel like, yeah, I think the books are great. I think different resources are good. It's just a matter of seeing what applies to you, because what applies to your kids probably doesn't apply to our kids,
Mhm.
or what applies to our oldest doesn't apply to our youngest, right? Because they're completely different.
So
So
much.
yeah, so it's like you kind of have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah. I do think though that um with what we've learned, Alina is gonna get the better version of us.
Absolutely.
And it sucks because it's not her fault. Why am I getting teary-eyed about it? But it's not her fault, like Ellie's fault, that we were just learning, like we didn't know any better.
Hmm.
um and now Alina gets to kind of like enjoy the fruit of all the sacrifice that Ellie had to make in being the first.
Yeah, well, that's true, and it's not because
Plus where we at financially, so many aspects of our life
no,
is so
I
different.
get it, but I also feel like Ellie was able to see her parents grow,
I hope
right?
so.
Because no, even she asked me yesterday. She was like, "Oh, did you really want a girl? You wanted a boy?" I said, "I wanted both boys." Do I regret it? Absolutely not. You guys are the best thing that ever happened to me besides your mother. And to have these conversations with her, I feel like she realized that us as parents, as people in general, as leaders in our community, as professionals, just as human beings in general, she was able to see where we started, right? Because even the financial part of things, I didn't have a whole bunch of sneakers here, by the way. I didn't have any sneakers back then. And, I was like, listen, first I had to move out the Bronx, right? Buy the house. And then I could actually treat myself to buy me some sneakers, right?
Hmm.
That it cost more than what, I'll pay max $50 for some sneakers. Now I pay more than 200 if I have to. I don't care. But again,
Yeah.
she was able to see how we started and where we are now. And not only that, but she's able to see everything that we could bring to the table for Alina as well, right? And not only that, but
And her, because I think she's enjoyed too
she enjoys everything.
the benefit.
She enjoys everything. She loves the gifts. And again, this goes back to know what's going on in your kid's life, right? I talk to her all the time. I say, you want more sneakers, more clothes, whatever it is, give me good grades, help on chores in the house. I'm not asking to do everything, right? Because we can't expect them to do everything, but get them responsibilities in the house because that's how they develop when they're independent. They're
Those
gonna have to do
skills.
it as well.
Yep.
So I feel like, you kind of have to consistently be getting information, but also giving information back, right? Because if we don't give them info, they're not gonna figure it out themselves. We're still
Mhm.
trying to figure out stuff.
Yeah. That's funny that she actually told you that yesterday cuz last week when she was doing my nails or 2 weeks ago, she mentioned like how she just realized that how much more I could have probably done had I not chosen to like have her.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously reminded her that I don't regret having her. Like
Mm-hmm.
abortion didn't even cross my mind, even though that was like the first thing the nurse presented to me at that time. Um, but I guess it comes to like fruition, like that they do see after some time what we do. She might not always say it, and she might not always appreciate it when we do lay down
But
the
they
law,
realize they
but
truly realize.
they see it.
Yeah, it's funny. We had
I just don't want her to like resent me later. That's why I'm always like, are we good? Like I always ask her, how can I be a better mom? Like I be asking her random stuff sometimes
I
because
never asked
I
her.
just don't want her, as an adult, she's gonna become independent and want to fly her wings and whatever. But like I would love for her to like always want to come home whenever she can, right? Like so like my fear is like, oh my god, I don't want her to resent me as she's older and stuff like
No,
that. Like
but listen,
I'll be so devastated.
yeah,
He will be like, oh, it's not your fault, but I would be
but that's why
devastated.
we can't be as strict either, right? Because then they go out of the house and then they go wild, wild west, right? And
Yeah.
that's when they turn. It was like, listen, if you're gonna do anything, do it while you're here, right? And if you whatever it is you're gonna do it while you're here. As much as I don't want to hear and say, but
Mhm.
remember, God is watching.
Yeah.
So your foundation is in God. So if you're doing the things wrong based on what we believe in, right? Because we give them what we believe in, then God is watching you. I don't have to see you. I don't want you to be a different person outside. But it's funny because when I was in the cheer, what was it last
On
weekend
Saturday.
on Saturday, they started, no, not this Saturday, one before. They had like a break time, so they were like dancing and stuff like that. Just everybody. All
That was this Saturday. I was with you the other weekend.
I was alone when I
This
went.
Saturday.
Oh, so it was this Saturday. So when we were over there, they were all dancing and stuff like that. And I was like, man, afterwards, when she's talking and talking, I'm like, babe, like, it's crazy because I wish, like, when I was in your age, I would be able to just come with my friends and just, dance and have a good time, eat popcorn, eat chips, and
Mhm.
just all like fellowship, very nice. And I'm grateful that I'm able to put you in a situation that you can enjoy this stuff. So not that I'm trying to remind her, oh, because of me you're here, but I'm like, man, I wish I had what you have. Like it's truly a blessing that you could just talk about this in the future as well.
Yeah. And I think that's also like the advantage or maybe the perk of parenting too is what you didn't get as a kid, you have the option and the choice to give it to yours,
Hmm.
right? So like a lot of the stuff that she's experienced, we didn't have that,
Absolutely not.
right?
Yeah.
The little vacations we take frequently or infrequently, no matter, when
She's
we
asking me to
take
go to
it,
Puerto Rico all the time.
all these things that she has access to, we didn't get to have.
Hmm.
And it's nice to be able to live it through her, to see her enjoy it, right? Like how you said the last time, like, man, sometimes she be annoying me when she don't be doing stuff, but I like to see her happy. Like when you're seeing her playing her video games and she's just having a regular childhood.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. We sometimes we forget. We expect them to do everything, and I'm guilty for that. I'm 100% guilty. Sometimes because we expect them to do a lot of different things, but sometimes as teenagers, they don't want to do nothing. They want to sleep. They want to eat. They want to play video games. So granted, now she's a lot into video games. I don't mind it because when I was that age, I was all the time doing stuff with my friends.
yeah.
So it's like just let them be because later on they're gonna go to college, they're gonna start working, and that's it. Work, 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 work. So unless she open her own business, which
Yeah.
I'm encouraging her to do as well.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell her too. I say, you only have your youth for such a short time.
Mm-hmm.
Being an adult is forever. So
Yep.
like enjoy this part like with no strict responsibilities and stuff, right? So we did write some tips or some important things to know, and I think one of the first things which is tied to what you were saying is structures is important.
Mm-hmm.
You have to set rules and limits. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he's old, he will not depart from it, right? So you and you know, for us, it's important for her to learn of God and love God.
Mm-hmm.
And when she becomes older, our faith is that she continues taking God wherever she goes with her, and every other valuable moral thing that we teach her now. And you know, you need some structure, right? Because we can't live in disorder.
Turn off the light when you get out the bathroom. Please don't leave it on. You know, those type of stuff.
All right. Elvis gets a little, you know, his pet peeve thing is like the lights off, right? But that also ties into what I told. Like I'm always like reminding Elvis, like, yo, you know, when you were a kid, did you want to do laundry? Did you want to do dishes? No, this is not stuff we wanted to do. But also realistically, these are stuff they're learning at this age to do. So
Yes.
I always tell Elvis to cut some slack because developmentally now at adolescence is when they start developing, maturing more that the prefrontal lobe, right? Because the prefrontal part of your brain that doesn't really mature till early adulthood, so your early 20s. So it's now at her age is that she's starting to think more organized or logical and being able to regulate her emotions. All the things that we expect of her is that she's learning now.
Yeah, I gotta slow down on that. You
You
know,
know,
I like messing with her when it comes to that, but yeah, the other day she left the light in the basement on in her bathroom, and I went downstairs to check it, and then I text her. Well, I text you because I was very upset. I was gonna go.
he gets like
Yeah,
Hulk.
yeah, no, but I didn't do nothing.
I know.
Sometimes you just gotta do nothing. So I text her. I like messing with her anyway. I'm saying I'm very disappointed, and she was like, she didn't
Poor
answer.
Ellie.
Yeah, so when I went to go see her and cheer, she was like all the way in the other side, and she went to me. She said, "Papi, what happened that you were mad at me?" I said, "Go over there and kill it, man. I'm gonna mess with your cheer. Go have a good time." It's crazy because I was just messing with her, but I was upset at the same time. But you don't want to affect anything that's going on around them because whatever we say or text or call, whatever it is, that sticks to them,
Yep.
right? So,
So before leaving to school is not the time to start correcting and reprimanding your kid because
yep.
that's gonna set off their day.
Yeah, it's even like your wife. Like the last conversation at night before you go to sleep, the conversation should be about good things, not about bad things. Okay, let's talk about blessings, about abundance, about our vision, about good stuff, not about bad stuff.
I be
Okay,
telling Elvis about random stuff and stories and stuff and cases
bad timing.
and he's like, "Ma, really?" And I'm like, "All right, sorry."
Yeah, yeah. It's like I just then I can't sleep. I'm thinking about this whole night. No, don't. There's a time and a place for everything.
Yep. And I think tied to structure and limits is also noting that they're not always going to be happy with the decisions you make, right? As much as we try to explain and give a reason, there's certain things that we're going to do that they're not going to like. For example, if we're going to take the phone away,
Ooh.
it don't matter what explanation we're going to give.
That's why I don't explain anymore.
It's not something they're going to want you to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to be okay with that sometimes they're not going to like it. When she was young, like a little younger, I used to be like, well, I guess I'm doing my job because I can't have you liking everything I say and do. It's like
Oh
I can't.
shit.
And she used to get like annoyed by that. But it's true. Like they're not always going to be happy with decisions we make. You know, and hopefully full circle comes, you know, when they're older, they're able to look back and say, wow, you know, mom really or dad was really looking out and protecting me.
I'm sure they are.
You know?
Yeah, they're not gonna admit it. They ain't gonna call you or text you or send you a letter. They no, but
No,
I'm sure they are.
no. I think another thing that we gotta do is listen and validate their feelings.
Absolutely.
I think that well, I grew up a lot where it wasn't like your opinion as a kid really mattered. And I think now is it's important to for them to be heard because
Hmm.
they repress a lot of things if you don't allow them to share how they feel, right? And we're for everything before back then when you were younger, everything was that, tú eres tan malcriada for anything you said back,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Ellie is very vocal, tends to, advocate.
She gets that for her
She's
mother.
a very good advocate for herself. So sometimes I have to be like, pump the brakes
Yeah.
because sometimes she advocates a little too much. But I also allow her to, as long as she's not calling me out of my name, right? Like, you're not saying something like, oh, you're a hypocrite, you're fake, this, or you're stupid. Like, don't call me out of my name. I'm your mom. Say what you need to say, the what you don't like, but without disrespecting or calling us out of our names. And I think, but I don't know. You gotta have a balance in how much you're validating and listening, because the generation now feels like a little too entitled.
Well,
But
we
that's
could have
another topic
no,
too,
we
because
we
it's
we could agree to disagree.
yeah,
That's it. I
yeah.
mean, we're realistically we're not gonna agree to everything, right? We're not gonna see eye to eye. So I put it that way.
Yeah.
It's my house at the end of the day, so my rules, and this is the way it is. Either you accept it or you don't. I mean, that may sound horrible, but I'm not trying to do anything against her, right? All we're trying to do is this is not something that we accept in this household based on our beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, our boundaries. So no,
Yeah.
right?
And another point, and I think we spoke about it a little earlier, is give yourself grace. One of, I think, the most challenging parts of being a parent is like what Elvis said earlier, that regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of what you're going through, physically, mentally, emotionally, you got to push through for those kids.
Yeah.
So give yourself grace when a little attitude might come out from your part. You might raise your voice one day or whatever because of everything that's happening externally that has nothing to do with the current situation. So give yourself grace with those times, because
Yeah,
sometimes I yell a little
you
too
come out.
much. So
I wasn't gonna throw no names, but sometimes this woman next to me comes from work crazy, so many different stuff. Then she gotta do whatever she has to do, chores in the house, and then my little one, oh, let me get chips, let me get cracker with cheese, let me
yeah,
get
I think it's
juice,
with her
let
the
me get
most.
donuts, let me get this. My little one, she demands for every little snack within the household now.
Yeah.
So mom probably just got home now, and right now she wants all of that and her nuggets
I don't even
and
take
her
off my coat or
sauce. And
nothing.
no, yeah, and she does it to you the most. So thankfully, so and then this one, I said, babe, relax, right? Because
It's like this morning, I was trying to get her
you
to go do her
gotta, you
hair, and
gotta.
she's like just sitting there. I'm like, Alina, we have to go.
And it's like you're never gonna scream at your kids because you are, but
Yeah.
come on, listen, you only have one chance to have your 4-year-old there. After that, they grow. You only have that one time where she want to sleep with you, or she wants you to read her a book, or she wants you to give her a hug, or she wants you to wrap you up like a burrito. That's why I tell her I'm gonna wrap you up like a burrito, or tell me a story, or give me a kiss, or give me a hug. Do not say no, because then they grow and you don't get that back anymore,
Yeah.
man. I miss it so much with my oldest one, and still now I obligate her to give me a kiss and a hug.
She does it a
But
little bit more.
she does, but
Not
Elena, I
like.
mean, it's more now. I value it so much because you don't have that after a
Mm-hmm.
certain time frame, or even if you have it now. Look how big she is.
I know.
She's
What
your
are you trying to
height.
say? She's not as cute?
No, it's not that. It's a little one. Wrap her up, and
Yeah.
it's just a different emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that one you love more than the other, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're only gonna have 1 year for your 4-year-old, 1 year for your 5-year-old. Enjoy every year. Forget about the stress. Forget about the problems. Forget about your disagreement with your spouse, your significant other, and try to just be understandable and be have that grace.
Be in the moment.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Life is too short.
Yeah. And, we model the behavior, like you said, also as well. That's another point that we had. What we do, they're going to see and do,
Mm-hmm.
right? As much as we say, oh, do as I say, not as I do, that's not how it
Yeah,
works.
that's not the way it works.
If I'm yelling, if I'm doing this, how can I expect to teach them to regulate their emotions, to stay calm in situations and not be reactive? if I'm not
Yeah,
being
and
that
your kid should
example.
not have that control over you. If your kid does one thing and you flip all the time,
Yeah.
then they're controlling you. Who's the adult?
Hmm.
Is the kid the adult or you're the adult, right?
Yeah.
You have to talk to him. And I tell Alina all the time, I say, 1 second. Oh, you want it right now? 1 second. 1 second. You don't have to give it to them right away. I'm not saying give them everything. Or even when I wrap her up, I say, I'll wrap you up. Go hide, right? Because it's not always like doing it at the moment. Because in the very early on age, you also want to teach them structure one way.
Hmm. Yeah. I think she's learning too now, like with the whole modeling. She sees me like she's always seeing us picking up something.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's like into like
She want to
picking
pick
up.
up.
She took so much pride yesterday in cleaning up the sala and leaving. She
She
left
cleaned
it
it
and she
twice.
left it like how we leave it.
But
Like
she like cleaned it twice.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's
So
good.
they model your
That
behavior.
makes me
They
so
see what you're doing.
sad
Why?
because that means she's freaking
She's
growing.
becoming independent.
Yeah.
But I think she took longer than Ellie to be independent.
Regardless,
Because
let her
Ellie
take a
was
little bit
very,
longer,
Ellie
man.
was very.
That's what I'm saying. Like people don't realize, and
He definitely
it's
babies
just,
Alina a lot. He does.
excuse me. No, you know what? I wasn't able to enjoy one more than the other, right? Because I was always working with Elenice. Now with Alina, I mean, I still work, but I have so much more flexibility, right?
Plus,
And
COVID, when COVID hit, we got to all be
I'm a
home.
different person. Let's be honest.
Yep.
I'm a different person. I was able to heal a lot of stuff that I had to heal in the past. I was able to grow as a father, as a man, as a husband, as a leader, as somebody that could do an impact within the community. So
Yeah. Elvis is a 4.8 star father.
it
I
really
can't give you the.
that
I
high?
can't give you the
You in the
point two.
threes. You're at
I can't
3.9.
give you the point.
Yeah.
I can't give you the point two only because then that would mean you're perfect and no one's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
What do you mean I'm a
You
3.9?
already gave me my score, so let's continue.
What? I'm a 5. I'm a 4.8 as well.
Let's talk
We
about
make
the
up
parenting for another episode.
we make up for each other's points too. Okay?
Who said you have a point too? Oh my god.
Anyways, and our last point was a Bible verse that I have found. And it
Let's
was
end it a good note, guys.
yes, before we start rumbling. And it's Colossians 3:21 and it's in the amplified version. It says, "Fathers, do not provoke or irritate or exasperate your children with demands that are trivial or unreasonable or humiliating or abusive, nor by favoritism or indifference. Treat them tenderly with loving kindness, so they will not lose heart and become discouraged or unmotivated with their spirits broken."
Amen.
May we not get stuck so much on the little things
Hmm.
and be kind to our kids. Let's not be unreasonable with them. Let's show them love so they don't lose heart and that their spirit isn't broken. And I think that there's a lot of kids. I just saw a statistic today. 1 in 5 children deal with mental health. And I thought that was very sad. And it just made me think what's going on. There's so much stuff research wise, whatever. I'm not gonna get into all that. But what can we do as parents to help alleviate some of those little burdens that our children are having, right? Some of the stress or some of the things they maybe
You don't
not
know.
talk about.
Yeah, you don't know what they're going on a day by day in school, and I feel like when they come home, there should be the shelter where they feel love, they feel heard, they feel seen, they have a presence, they mean something, and
They feel
And
motivation.
if you don't vocalize that to them, right? I tell my daughter all the time, like, listen, you're beautiful. I love you. You can move forward. You could do a lot of things. You're smart. What is it that you're gonna do next, right? I'm always seeking what's gonna be the next level for them. And if you don't speak that word of belief, of growth, of you gotta speak to them of things that they can't even see in themselves
Yep.
in a consistent basis. If you think they're gonna forget the little things, I mean, that's it's valuable for them. You gotta remind them constantly, believe it or not, the more you do it, the more they're gonna come to you for that word. They're not gonna tell you, "I need a word,"
Hmm.
but they're still gonna go to you. They're
Yeah.
probably gonna go to you with their problems, with their drama, And all they're really seeking is number one, to be seen, and number two, to hear the words that my mother or my father has for me.
Yeah. And pray for your kids. You know, when all else fails, pray.
Hmm.
Prayer has helped a lot for us. It has helped us stay connected to the Holy Spirit. I've been revealed a lot of things through prayer, and the Holy Spirit has helped me in guiding, right? Whether He's used someone and said, I had a dream of this, check in with your kid about this, or whether He's told me, check this or do that. And, we have been able to preserve our children's life because of prayer and covering them, right? When you get those little gut feelings, just pray over your kids and have faith that ultimately when maybe we slack, when maybe we don't well, maybe what we don't see, maybe what we can't do, God can do, and God is there and He
Amen.
sees.
Amen. Good talk, babe.
It was a good talk. It had to be said.
And it was said. Take care, guys.